What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Epic 7 video. Today I want to talk about possibilities of buffs for both Ainz and Albedo. Smilegate themselves on the Stove forum, so I will have all these links for you guys. Main thing I want is to make sure you guys make a Stove account and vote in the poll, and I'll tell you everything you need to know in this video. But essentially, Smilegate has put out a direct feedback post highlighting both Ainz and Albedo and asking what players think in both PvP and PvE. Is Ainz a hero with high versatility? Is he irreplaceable? Is he a strong hero among those of the same class? Is he a hero with flaws yet usable with affection? Or is he a hero in need of further improvement? And the reason I think they're asking for both of these is to see if, you know, I think there's been a lot of maybe negative feedback on the power levels of these characters, maybe not up to snuff to other collab characters, maybe getting overshadowed by the most recent balance patch. I've seen a lot of different critique feedback from players, and I think Smilegate is directly listening, but they want numbers to back it up. So the overall goal of this video is to make sure you guys are aware of this, number one, and number two, if you think one way or the other, if you have any opinion on the collab characters, I'm not going to try to sway you one way or the other, but I will give my opinion later on the state of these two characters, what I think, you know, the game needs overall. But I want you guys to vote however you feel. Just make sure you get a vote in, period. So once again, I'll have all the links for you in the description and the pinned comment. Make sure you make a Stove post and get your feedback in, okay? You want to be heard on something this important. Okay, with that out of the way, let me just talk a little more loosely here about the state of Epic 7X Overlord, previous collabs, and all that. So Ainz is our free unit, as we all know, a free Dark ML5 that was given to us, and the track record of free characters in collabs especially, they're not that strong, right? If you look at Soul Bad Guy, you can look at units like Shuna, who I'm going to use as an example, but when she first came out, if you look at who was it? Riza Hawkeye, I think, was the other free unit for FMA. A lot of the free characters, often when they come out, they're not bad per se. They have a use, usually a niche role, either PvE or a specific setup for PvP. But in general, they try not to, they're never the standout unit, typically, because they're free. And I think Smilegate has that for a reason. Now, that being said, we've seen buffs to Soul Bad Guy. We've seen buffs to Shuna especially, which I really want to talk about. They made Shuna, they completely reworked her to be an actual very good unit and not just kind of the free gimmick that she came out on her release. So in that regard, I think Ainz here, if they are getting this feedback for a possible buff, could definitely receive some major love. So once again, this is why I want you guys to submit your feedback on, you know, the state of balance. Furthermore, we've had quick buffs. This is the second kind of defending evidence, guys, on why this is so important. Edward Elric, there was no poll needed, but Edward Elric, when he was released, was actually buffed, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, guys, on the timeline, but I think it was a week or under. After his release, he was buffed immediately to be more in line with the, you know, the power levels that the players were giving feedback for and what they thought. Something about his kit they changed and it improved him drastically. So for those reasons, I think we can definitely see some buffs here. You guys just need to make sure you submit what you think is the case. So I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion now. Don't let that sway you guys, but this is what I think about. Let's just talk overall in terms of buffs. I think in the current state of the game, with a lot of players, a lot of content creators like myself recommending newer players, returning players that maybe don't have a lot of gear, don't have a lot of units, don't have a lot of resources, to use everything on their account to pull for, you know, characters like not Ainz, but Albedo, for example, because they're collabs, because they're limited, because they might never come back. I think it's nice if the character is, you know, very powerful. I don't want the game to be power crept, but the sad state of the game is a lot of characters already at power levels that are extremely strong. And so to make a unit, you know, that maybe Albedo, which we're going to talk about here in a second, is good enough as is, I don't think it's a problem if she becomes even stronger. That way players that are investing most of their resources, you know, have a great unit out of the box, okay? So I don't think I would have this stance, guys, if this collab came out year 1, year 2 of Epic 7. I want things to be very carefully balanced in terms of the overall ecosystem, in terms of overall PvP balance. But in the current state of the game, I think it's okay now. I don't think we have to be as careful. And if you are one of those people that thinks Albedo is already good, I think it's fine for her to get a little bit more buffed. But that's just my kind of idea for this whole thing. I wouldn't mind both of these characters, especially Ainz, to get some love and get some significant buffs, in all honesty, okay? So Ainz specifically, I don't want to spend too long on this part, but what does Ainz need? I kind of highlighted when I was looking at his first impressions that there is a big weakness, the 15% especially on his skill 3, right? This is the moneymaker. This is where we want Ainz to survive, and he's going to sentence all your opponents to death here with that 50,000 fix. You know, that's a one-shot, as long as he survives. So 2 parts of this kit. I think number 1, the consistency. I think giving him an option to maybe burn souls would be the easiest solution. You know, you bring enough resources, bring a composition that lets Ainz, 1, survive, and 2, right? Maybe you bring a target hells with him to make sure we can soul burn and land that without any RNG, because 15%, you know, losing over 1 out of 10 games, losing 15 out of 100 games just because you got RNG'd never feels good. And I think a lot of people love Ainz. A lot of people are coming back to play this game for him. So let's, you know, make him a little bit more consistent. Furthermore, I don't think we really need the increased damage suffered from light elemental enemies by 30%. I think this was just a failsafe to make sure, you know, he has counters. But in all honesty, I think units like this, yeah, we might get into a Dark Corvus kind of meta where Ainz is so strong that, you know, the game gets a little bit slow because he is very tough to kill. He has you know, he doesn't get 15%ed, and he starts one-shotting units when he can't be killed. I do think there's still counterplay in the game, especially at higher levels, to where that won't be an issue. And I think this is kind of just making him suffer when units aren't as geared, when you can't give enough to support him. Now, I don't know overall too much what exactly else you guys might want to change about him. Those are just my first 2 thoughts on his kit. But I do think most people in general will say Ainz could use some love, right? Some buff. So make sure you guys answer how you wish on that poll. And that brings us to the second unit in question. And no, guys, there was no poll, at least from what I saw, for Shaltir. So it's just Albedo and Ainz. Albedo second on the list is a very, very strong mitigation knight. However, I think a lot of players have felt that she needs something else. Now, I'll tell you guys this. I did play her a little bit recently because I knew I would just enjoy this unit no matter what. I will say I've seen a lot of players, especially my own community, saying that she is actually fine. She doesn't need any buffs. She's good as is. Okay? And I think there is some merit to that statement. Now, if you remember what I said though at the start, I don't mind if a character gets a little bit too strong here. And I think for the lower level, less geared players, Albedo could use something here to kind of make her stand more, you know, than just strictly either an anti-cleave if you build her with a lot of damage, or as just another mitigation knight, you know, alongside Crimson Arm and everything else like that. So I think most people have looked at the skill 2, the Aegis Unfold, adding more utility to this, maybe adding more damage, something like attack break. Anything I think increased here on the Aegis Unfold. This is, I think, the most unique part of her kit. I think that's where Smilegate needs to look. And maybe instead of, you know, Ainz might need some significant love, maybe Albedo here just needs a little bit. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But let me make it clear that I think both Albedo and Ainz could use some buffs for sure, and I'll be answering accordingly into the polls. That being said, guys, I think Albedo has been such a fun unit. The defense break, the strip, all that stuff has been great. They have massive amounts of mitigation. So if they do just add a little bit more utility, a little bit more damage, whatever it might be, onto the Aegis Unfold where she summons the Vicorn, I think this character is actually going to be very, very solid moving forward. So slight buff for Albedo in my opinion. Maybe some more significant buffs, especially like Ignore Effect Resist for Ainz. And then I think we're going to be in a good spot. I think we can already see some of the poll completion here. And it looks like most people are in agreement. I had this open, sorry. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys here a little bit on some of the comments. A lot of people are saying buff a bit, but don't make her another Karina. Don't let this collab be remembered as one of the worst collabs ever. I think that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration. I think that title goes to ReZero. Where's Shaltir? Do you think Shaltir is good? Shaltir, I think, is good, but was it the recent balance patch? Things like Last Piece Corinne. Players are assuming, you know, Last Piece Corinne, I think, combats units like the Albedo mitigation and then maybe outshines Shaltir a bit. But I think compared to Ainz and Albedo, Shaltir, I think, is good enough. But yeah, I think, let's see here. Most people are saying Albedo's going to take with Warriors, which is fine. And so most people think she's in okay. However, the polls kind of speak for themselves, guys. So go ahead and answer however you think Albedo is. But overall, just make sure you vote regardless. And thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go ahead and see some changes for our game. And I hope people think that the collab is good, despite this kind of maybe balancing issue, because I've been enjoying it. I think this is exactly what we needed for the game. So let's kind of just put the cherry on top here and make sure everybody feels great about the Epic 7X Overlord collaboration. Thank you, guys. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, y'all.